Hello, my name is Penny Robinson. I originally did this presentation via teleconference with Kim Davies at Gippsland controlling the slides while I delivered this presentation in the tutorial room at the Alfred Hospital. What I'm attempting to do is re-record this PowerPoint presentation using the software called Camtasia. Fingers crossed it works. So on to the presentation that I delivered as part of Monash's Diversity and Inclusion Week in April. The photo on this first slide shows what I look like. When I delivered this presentation, I was sitting in the Alfred in a tutorial room with some of my friends because it was a lunch break. The photo is of me celebrating having had 3 personal bests, 3 bronze medals and 1 gold medal at the Victorian Masters Track Championships last year, when I had a very good track season. My contact details are on that slide as well. Now, on to the next slide on diagnosis and schooling. I was diagnosed when I was in Year 9 at the age of 14.5, and that was in 1997, just to put the time of my diagnosis into the context of when Aspergers Syndrome became more well known. Now lots of kids are being diagnosed earlier. Aspergers Syndrome wasn't really known about much earlier than when I was diagnosed. But before I was diagnosed, I got lots of speech therapy. Again, first intervention when I went to 3 and 4-year-old kinder, and it was my 3-year-old kinder teacher that suggested to Mum that I really did need speech therapy, and I'm aware that I still have a lisp. And also, because being the oldest of 4 girls, that's probably also contributed to the late diagnosis, because there was no big sibling for comparison. I completed Year 12 over 2 years at the suggestion of the school counsellor, but also my parents, and I started getting panic attacks in Year 12, mainly in the dreaded school assembly, which is relevant at uni later on. Now on to my third slide. As you can see, I registered with the DLU when I enrolled at uni, but I was reluctant to get help initially. Well, really, after Year 12 exams, because I'm quite bright, but as I had explained to me, assistant puts me on a level playing field. My ATAR in Year 12 was 98.15, and I'm quite proud to boast that that ATAR was the lowest of me and my 3 sisters. They all got 99 point something. I'm quite happy with my ATAR though. Initially, the DLU sent letters around to the course coordinators. I'm studying again this year, but I've just got the DLU to give me the letter electronically, and I'll handle the disclosure myself. Actually, one of the disclosures, I was pulled aside at the block day by the coordinator, asking me if it was okay for her to disclose to my tutor. And I said no, I'll do it myself. But I didn't have a laptop, so on my phone I had to find an email with the letter and forward it on to the tutor and say, for your information, I'll talk to you at lunchtime. So talk about a rather informal disclosure that worked. And I had extra time, and being in the separate exam area was definitely useful. And extensions for assignments, really, that was just a backup. But I did need a fair few extensions in my second year of my Masters. On to the issue of disclosure. The 2 photos on this slide, the top is my 92-year-old grandmother and me at my graduation after my Masters, and down the bottom is my twin sisters who are now 22, being rather silly in the photos, which I had as a screensaver on my computer for ages. I disclosed about my panic attacks to my fellow students very early on at uni as a coping strategy, and I also would often sit at the end of a row, and because of that coping strategy, I only had to exit the lecture theatre twice in first year. Unless you count the exits on the exit on the day after the Monash shooting, which occurred when I was in first year, because that was a rather atypical situation. I also disclosed the Aspergers when appropriate to uni colleagues, and as Kim said in her talk, I was bullied a fair bit at school, but I found when I was at uni I was accepted for who I was, and I think that part of that, when they called for student reps to be elected in second year, as soon as the announcement had been made in the lecture theatre, probably about a dozen people were calling out my name. So it was a great pleasure to be elected as student rep in second and third year. On to the next slide about disclosure at work. I was a tutor throughout my masters, and it was actually through my tutoring that I got my current job, really being headhunted. I disclosed the AS to my supervisor 2 months in, and I admit that in the middle of an anxiety meltdown was not the best time for disclosure, but I realised at the time this disclosure has to happen right this instant. And after that I was sent home and got to work from home for a few days, because I was not coping at all with the adjustment to work at that time. My supervisor and workplace are very, very flexible and supportive, so that means that if I do have to be late because I've got a psychologist appointment or whatever, I just have to tell them where I am. And there's the picture on the disclosure slide of the front cover of the book that helped me tell a lot more people. All cats have Aspergers Syndrome. If you can get your hands on that book, it's a very good book to read because the pictures of the cats are adorable and the words are true as well. And I feel that support helps me to work to my strengths, which is data analysis. And yes, I do get overwhelmed sometimes, but who doesn't? And the flexibility to work from home is sometimes useful, and I will probably be doing more work from home over the next couple of weeks while my parents are away. On to the list of my achievements with support. As you can see, I completed Year 12 over 2 years, but I completed biomedical science, and then I did honours in 2005 in the Department of Epidemiology and Preventive Medicine. I worked out that this was my strength, so I did a Masters of Biostatistics. This usually takes 3 years, part-time, but due to personal issues and data management issues, my research project took a year longer than it should have, but I was able to tutor in other things during that time, and of course in real life, occasionally there are data stuff-ups, so I learned a lot about research during that extended time. And as of Friday this week, I will have been working full-time at the Women's Health Research Group for 3 years, and I've been the staff representative of the Monash Disability Committee since 2012. This year, I'm studying the Graduate Certificate in Academic Practice part-time while still working, but as of about 11:30 last night, I have no more assessment until semester 2, much to my relief. So with support, achievement at uni and beyond is possible. This slide talks about my current challenge, which is a personal challenge which is affecting study and work at the moment. I don't cope well with change, and luckily, being the oldest, there wasn't much change in my family situation until I was going through school. But now, because I'm the oldest, and as you can see from the age of my other sisters, there's a lot of change now because, of course, they're all uni students now, and we're coming and going. But I've got the taste of independence through house sitting, so I have begun thinking about moving out. That was in April. Now, when I'm recording this video, it's September, and I can proudly say that I have purchased a 2-bedroom unit in Sandringham, and I'm counting down the days until the 13th of November, which is settlement day, when I get to move in. In conclusion, I quite like Temple Grandin's quote, "What would happen if you eliminated the autistic gene from the gene pool? You would have a bunch of people standing around in a cave chatting and socialising and not getting anything done. I do wonder what it would be like to not have AS. But then I realise if I didn't have AS, then I wouldn't be me, because AS is part of the person who I am. So I'm glad that I have AS, and besides, I don't know life any other way. Thank you.